so excited to have all of you with me. I do need to start this recital with a bit of a disclaimer that I am very much of two minds about what I'm doing with this recital tonight. On the one hand, as someone who probably could not name a female classical composer other than Clara Schumann or Fanny Mendelssohn up until a few years ago, it is work that I am finding very personally meaningful to dig out some of these lesser-known women composers and spend time with their music and share their music with other people. I think that might also be communally significant. On the other hand, these women are cishet white women, European women, wealthy women, and I am imagining that one meaning that some people might try to read into this recital is that I am sort of trying to stick it to the patriarchy or challenge the institutionalized power of the canon. And because of those reasons, I don't think that this recital actually accomplishes that, because these women had the social and cultural capital to effectively assimilate largely into the power structures and value systems of their male contemporaries. And so studying their music, playing their music, does not actually represent the rejection of those value systems that we might like to imagine it does. And so part of what we're doing in this recital together tonight is that we're thinking about that. We're spending time with that complexity and that messiness, and we're not turning away from it, even as we are hopefully acknowledging the beauty and expressivity of this music as well. There is still that both-andness that is staying with us. And so now I will tell you a little bit about the composers and works that I have on my program tonight. This first piece was a song without words by Delphine von Schauroth. She, in addition to being a composer, was also a touring pianist. She traveled all over Europe performing, and of course interacting with many of the significant male figures of her day, including Felix Mendelssohn, who wrote prolifically within the genre of song without words, and with whom she was personally close. Those of you who might be less familiar with the genre of song without words might be thinking that the without words part is a bit redundant for a piano, and so I will point you towards the song part, indicating that the melody is meant to sound as though it were sung. And this idea of singing at the piano is something that I'm continuing with in the next two pieces on my program, which are both etudes that come from a collection by Hélène de Montgeroult, who's a French composer, born actually exactly 50 years earlier than Delphine von Schauroth. Come from this pedagogical collection, this immense pedagogical collection that she wrote, that in the manner of 19th century titles is gloriously long, complete works for the teaching of forte piano, progressing from the first elements to the most difficult. And so it begins with sort of her philosophy on pedagogy written out in French, unfortunately for me, that she talks a lot about the value of singing at the piano with your fingers. And so she starts with almost 1,000 finger exercises just of the sort of nature. And then progresses to 114 of etudes. I'm playing 2 of them tonight. And then there are some sort of real pieces, if you want, at the end that might represent a culmination of all of the work that a student has put in. And the fantasy that I'll be ending my program with is one of those pieces. So we're spending some time with that collection. And now I think I've said enough. Let's let you hear some etudes. tonight, which is the aforementioned fantasy. But of course, before I play that for you, I have many thank yous to give. And so the first thank you is to everyone who is here tonight with me, making this community, this musicking experience with me. You are all making your own contributions, and I am grateful for all of them. The second one is to my family, my parents and my brother and my aunts, and all of my friends back home, especially Robin, and my piano teacher from home, Barb Straw, and my former piano teacher here, Mary Vandeloo. My thanks also go to my current piano studio. So many of you are here, that's so great to see. And especially to Lucian and Kai, my current studio partners and dear friends. And to Michael, thank you so much for all of your support and encouragement as the chaotic process of putting together this recital. And of course, my thanks would not be complete without thanking my VA Music Squad. Thank you so much, especially to Al and to Julie. You guys have given me so much support and encouragement, and I'm so grateful. The last piece on my program is a fantasy by Hélène de Montgeroult. And I've told you that she was a pedagogue. She wrote this huge pedagogical collection. And of course, you can guess that she was also a composer and a pianist. And maybe what you haven't guessed is that she was also an improviser. In her time, she was an aristocratic woman. In her time, it was common for women of her class to learn piano as sort of this ideal of domesticity, of acceptable femininity, marriageability. And she did that, and she wasn't really allowed to play publicly, but she sort of blurred those lines by performing in salons that were technically a private setting, but there could be hundreds of people there, technically. They were large rooms. And so she established this reputation for herself that people would write letters about her playing, would come specifically to hear her play. And part of that reputation was that she was a very talented improviser. And so this is relevant because the fantasy is a genre that is written out but is intended to sound improvised. And so I've been finding it quite interesting to think about someone who is known for actually improvising what she chose to do with this genre of the written out improvisation. And you will notice over the course of this piece that there are a lot of sort of unpredictable character changes, mood changes, that sort of reflect that improvisatory character. So I hope you enjoyed the wild ride we're about to go on together. Thank you again so much for coming.